Welcome back to another episode of the Jonathan David Detox Show, where we talk about detoxing the physical body, the mind, the spiritual body, the emotional body, all this stuff, moving from where we're at or where we used to be into a new version of ourselves. And on this topic, I have an amazing guest here today, Marcus Watts. I'm so excited to introduce him to you, to have this conversation. Marcus is a badass dude. He's been a fashion model for 10 plus years. He's been living a plant-powered lifestyle for almost 5 years, creating and moving through his own health transformation. And now he supports the world by guiding other people through their own personal health transformations. Marcus, awesome to see you. Thanks for being here, brother.
Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate the love. Appreciate this presence with you. And I'm excited to get into what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, man. Well, dude, thanks for taking time to be here. Everybody watching, thank you for watching. Today is going to be an awesome conversation. I'm very excited to, dive in and talk about Marcus's journey, my journey, different parts that are probably very relatable to you because even though we all move through our own unique custom experience of this life, there's a lot of things that are very similar, right? That we can take from each other. So we're going to be talking about health and, living life on our own terms, reclaiming our power through different ways of living. Let's get into it.
Let's go.
Marcus, I would love to start it off with, sharing. I want to hear more about why are you Marcus the health guy? Why are you so passionate about health? Where did that originate? Where did that come from?
Yeah, I would say it started just as a youthful, athletic child, at least to that level. My parents they really allowed myself and my siblings to have fun and play and, move our bodies. So at a young age, learning how to play basketball, how to play kickball in the streets with my friends and baseball. We literally played everything, roller hockey, foot hockey. So I've always had a liking or a love for moving. Had a lot of energy growing up too. And, in a household, I have 5 siblings. So, 6 children, household of 8. There's a lot of energy bouncing around, so that naturally amplifies each other as well. And so played basketball growing up. That was my main sport throughout my life, at least competitively. In high school, travel ball, did intramurals in college. The one thing with all that I recognize and I continuously go back at the point of where I'm at now to reminisce, to connect dots, is the modalities, the food has played such a significant role, like where I'm at now, where I'm like, wow, if I only knew what I knew now back then, things would be totally different. But, it's part of that journey that keeps unfolding. Um, 2020 was what I like to call my awakening to another degree. I think throughout life, if you pay attention, there's many of these rebirths or awakenings along the way, if you choose to root into that presence. So as we all know, 2020 was a pretty life-altering time frame, and I'm here in LA, so this area is one that they really, shut down a lot of stuff. So in that time, whatever divine alignment, whatever we want to call it, I had these thoughts of, hey, well, if I'm going to be inside and the bars and these other things that I frequented before for fun are closed down, I want to learn stuff. I want to empower myself so that I can show up for others potentially. And that just started with that natural curiosity. I'd say a lot of the messaging that I was hearing on the news and just seeing around town just didn't make sense to me when it came to what being healthy is. And it brought me back to my childhood again, in that time where my parents at a young age taught me to say that you're healthy, even if you're experiencing what we know, Jonathan and I know, and some of y'all know, as detox symptoms or just the natural process that our body does. So I never claimed the word sickness, and therefore I never was really sick my whole life. So, during that time when they're saying certain things to, be healthy, it was contradictory of what has always led me to be healthy. Being outside in the sun, being in community, movement. They shut down the gyms, they shut down the beach in Santa Monica for a period of time. And so I'm like, I don't know, some don't feel I want to learn how I can prevent things for myself. And that just was one of the big moments to really start really feeding my mind other perspectives, I'll say. So I shifted from listening to hip hop music and dancing around at the clubs to podcasts, audiobooks, TED Talks, like Netflix documentaries and things. And every time that I listen to something, I'm like, whoa, I didn't know this. Like, have I been living under a rock this whole time? Some of these spiritual books. I was driving, during that time, which was a benefit of everything being shut down, like there's no traffic to get where we wanted to go. So I could get from the east side in the Hollywood area to downtown Santa Monica in like 20 minutes. And so
Wow.
that was nice. But anytime I would drive, I would just throw on a book or audio tape or something. And especially those books like Untethered Soul and Four Agreements, they like just opened me up even more to like connecting different things. And that opening helped lead me to the foods, the health and wellness side too. And fast forward to September of 2020, and I watched Game Changers for the first time. And as an athlete growing up, and thinking from more of bodybuilding gym bro kind of perspective, thinking that I needed to consume a lot of animal products, animal byproducts for the protein to get big. And I'm watching this documentary of elite athletes, Olympians, NFL, NBA, you name it, ultra marathon runners, all saying basically the same thing, that if they knew earlier that this plant powered lifestyle would give them the benefits that they have now, they would have done it way before. And so that spoke to me. I'm like, what? The strong man of Canada who's lifting the yoke lift with like 2,000 pounds and walking 50 meters. It's like, and this guy's been on plants this whole time? Okay, there must be something to it. And leading up to that point, I had listened to little things here and there about health and body. I was eating primarily organic stuff that kind of fell in a couple years prior. And I noticed the difference between consuming conventional to the organic energetically within myself. So in noticing that contrast, I'm like, okay, if this is going to benefit me, what these people are saying, I might as well give it a try. And prior to that too, I knew that, or I learned that basically every 7 years, you're fully regenerated from top to bottom. Maybe it's 92%, neither here or there. But I was like, okay, let me try and maybe I'll try this. Why not? We're shut down. This is the best time to do it.
What else we got to do?
Exactly. And so I watched that maybe on a Thursday or Friday. And then by the Sunday following, I jumped into a 10-day cleanse that I'd
Wow.
already been following this lady on Instagram. And so she fed into the mindset of it as well. She was showing the more graphic stuff of like, this is what you're eating when you eat pork or pigs or whatever, and it's like, oh, like parasites. And I was like into it though. I'm like, tell me more. What else don't I know? So I jumped into her cleanse, a 10-day cleanse. I had a buddy that lived down the street from me, and we would go and do workouts in the park, go on hikes and things because we had that time. Who's also in the entertainment industry as well. And so he started his on Tuesday. I started on Monday. So I was a day ahead. We're going. His day 5, my day 6. He's like, hey, bro, I'm out. I'm done. I don't want to do this no more. And I said, come on, man, we're right there, the halfway point. And he's like, nah, I don't know. I feel like it's too much. I kind of fell into that too. I'm like, this was challenging. When I look back on it now, I'm like, yeah, it was a challenging thing to just jump into a cleanse like that. But I think I would have continued if I had a support, if I had somebody else that was doing it with me. So that evening, he invited me over and we made like these like Chipotle style bowls at home. And I threw in some shrimp and ate that. And 20 minutes later, I kid you not, my stomach was like tossing and turning. It was like, nah, this ain't it. This ain't it. And at that moment, I was like, all right, I'm gonna stay plant powered or plant based and just do that. Maybe the cleanse thing was too fast or something, and I'm just gonna naturally let this thing unfold. I'm gonna learn more. I know there's things that I'm gonna be aware of as time goes on. Long-term vision, I'm like, all right, well, I want to give it at least 7 years for me to really see within myself what's gonna change.
Mhm.
And even that alone, in those 6 days, noticing the difference when incorporating shrimp back in, like I never had that sensitivity before. So that, just like I notice moving from conventional foods to organic foods, I know the energy difference. This time from doing this 6-day cleanse, I noticed the difference. I'm like, okay, what else can unfold from here? Yeah, ever since that, I was looking into Dr. Zach Bush's content, talking about how much glyphosate's being sprayed on all our conventional crops, but not only the crops, at schools and parks and all this stuff for the weeds, and how it's tied into our gut health, and how glyphosate is that antibiotic basically repurposed as these weed killers. And it's funny how the universe works, because at that same time I had a friend who I had met in the entertainment business. We're good friends, and she hit me up and she's like, yo, I noticed things like, what's going on in your life? We haven't caught up in a minute. And throughout this whole 2020 world, like I'd been posting things on my Instagram stories about sunlight and breath work, and eat blueberries, eat or make sure you buy organic and all this stuff. And she knew me at a time where I had McDonald's wrappers in my car still as snacks to get the set. And she had been in the health, holistic mindset modalities for a while. And so she's like, yeah, let's catch up. And I was telling her I'm transitioning to this plant-based life for some time. I really value quality and soil health. I was learning about glyphosate, all this stuff. She said, that's funny that you're saying this, because I think I know something that would be in alignment to you. And she put me on to our superfood community, and she said, I think that you should try this ULT program. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. So she sent me some info, and I was like, okay. Now this was in November. So I ordered it in November, and then I started December 1st, 30 days. And I wanted to see how the superfoods incorporated with my plant-based, lifestyle would do to my body without working out. I didn't want to work out the whole time to see what the foods are going to do. Because they say it's 90% in the kitchen or the lifestyle, and then 10% working out in the movement. So I did it, and at the time I was doing I don't know if you remember this, accelerated version.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a deeper level parasite cleanse in the middle of it.
Yep.
And man, I was alone at home, and that week of the parasite cleanse, thank God I had athletic mindset discipline practices, because I was riding the emotional waves. I'm like, should I just stop now? Like, because it was more of like the eating windows that they said to do in that time. It was like every 2 hours, do this, do that, do this, do that for 10 days straight. And so coming from someone who eats a lot, now being restricted in a way by choice, of course, because I wanted the best. I wanted the accelerated version.
Yeah, exactly. Go all the way.
Let's go all the way. And I kid you not, like after that experience and that first 30 days, it literally felt like the light switch got turned on. I didn't realize what brain fog actually meant, because I didn't think I had it. But because my mind was moving so much more efficiently and sharper, my sleep was better, and I released like 10 to 15 pounds that I didn't know I could release, and got leaner and all this stuff. Like it was literally a paradigm shift for me. And from that point, it changed forever. After that, I started working out again, and I was in the gym, and just the recovery time from everything that I had experienced before in working out, especially after a long period of not working out. It takes sometimes 3 to 4 weeks to really get your groove back. But in like 1.5, 2 weeks, I was already like feeling really good and recovering so fast. I'm like, wow, like this is nuts. Is
Yeah.
this what they were talking about on Game Changers? Because if this is, like, we live in it right now.
Yeah, you actually experienced it. And at this point, you were what, 2 months plant based?
So September,
Oh, so like
October,
4.
November, December, like 4 months.
Okay, nice.
5 months into
Yeah.
that fifth month is when I started working out, like again, after a 30-day stint, December to January. And man, like then I continued doing that. And that was part of this gym I was going to. And it was kind of like a F45 style gym, but it was not just all like cardio. It was
What's
more
an
like,
F45, Marcus?
oh, F45 is this gym class company basically. And it's like you do different stations at for certain time durations.
Mm.
Well, let's say station one is you're doing burpees, station two you're doing ropes, station three jogging on the treadmill or running on the treadmill, and
Yeah,
you
so like
move
circuits.
circuit, yeah, circuit. So they do circuits at this other place, and it's not just cardio. Like one day might be cardio, the next day will be strength training, the next day will be hypertrophy, the next will be stretch or something. So it changes it up. So just like everything got way better and my strength increased while maintaining a leanness. I wasn't huge or anything. Yeah, I have muscle for sure, but I'm not like so big that I can't move either.
You're not inflamed.
Not inflamed. And a lot of the people in the class would notice like me moving some heavier weights and, performing at a high intensity and being able to recover way faster, even when going all out. And for me, that was just incredible to see like how much benefit and how much different it was. And remembering how I felt when I was eating 8 eggs a day on an everyday basis, when I was kind of leaning into the keto world where I was eating a lot more high fat and protein at that time, which felt good at that time, but I didn't know how good I could feel, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
Don't know.
It's
You won't
crazy the
know.
contrast.
Yeah. And I think too, it's like the mindset around it.
Hmm.
Thank God I had like open mindset to it and did a little bit of that background research to think, okay,
Yeah.
if I lived 29 years at the time of eating a certain way, I know that it's not just going to be like this, like the people talking on the TV screen. I have to give it its time, you know?
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, that's like the beginnings,
Yeah.
but like those moments were so profound to me and how I felt. And like, it was like a reprogramming of what I've been taught a certain
Hmm.
way and then experiencing something different and it being way better for me.
Dude, I think that's a powerful point that you bring up is so many times when we're on this side of future change, before we evolve into a new person, we look at people that completely transform their lives and they're like, wow, either that's fake or I'll never do that or I'm content with my life. Like we just distance ourselves from the possibility of that being us in whatever way we do.
Yeah.
But I want to speak to anybody that's listening that feels like that. My story is so similar to Marcus's. You just take it one step at a time. I want to specifically dive in on that for a second. If you're comfortable with this, is you said you stopped listening to hip hop music, you stopped going to the club, you started like this personal development thing.
Yeah, yeah.
When I was in my peak club days and drinking and all this stuff, that personal development thing that didn't sound intriguing. But later in my life, when I went through the same thing, it was hella intriguing. Why? Why did you want that?
So that's a great question.
Because that was kind of before the diet shift, right?
Yeah. I've always loved motivational quotes and inspirational quotes and things just in my life the whole time. But I would say in those more party days, I would still listen to some of that stuff or not necessarily. I wasn't a big reader at that time. I had that natural like positivity always, thankfully, because my family and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I'm stumped right now
Okay.
trying to connect the dots of it, but
Was there any aspect of it like being way better than you thought it was going to be, which is why it was almost like the snowball that just keeps getting bigger and bigger?
I think it was just that openness. I was like, I don't know what's going to be on the other side. It might not work for me. It might work. I'm like neutral, but I'm curious, neutral and curious, to take it one step at a time and see day by day. Long term, if they told me that, and it's been studied 7 years, 7 years it takes for this process to be fully. And I had this thought of curiosity, okay, what if I was in this plant powered lifestyle for 7 years? How will my cells be with that material versus what I've had before? But then take it day by day, knowing that it's like kind of like intuitively knowing that it's not going to just be like that. There might be some times where I could fall back. And that happened in the beginning a little bit too, where, you don't realize you don't realize what's in ingredients as specifically and what those even mean. So like for me, like eggs and milk, dairy kind of stuff was some of the later things to let go fully, especially from like baked goods and things. But it's just until I could read the labels of what certain things are. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I don't want that. Then let's find something else. Let's find a swap at first. And I think that's something to say for anyone that's listening in general. It's like the transition, it's like a constant transition, I'd say. Each day you're going to get better at spotting certain things that don't align with you, and you'll be able to notice the difference, with certain ingredients and stuff like that. And I say it like, if you really feel called to jump quicker, you can, but know that the transition part is so important to have in your mindset.
Yeah, you bring up such a good point, man. Like, we're always shifting, we're always transitioning life, everything, right? And so it's like, what do I want?
Yeah.
And you didn't know that you didn't want those ingredients until you shifted to that part. We're always shifting, and in each place that we find ourselves shifted to, we can re-ask ourselves, what do I want? And like that's what it was for me. I didn't want the results that all of the music and the bar and like all this different stuff I was spending my time doing. Really, I was eating that stuff, right? It's a form of I was ingesting that, I was consuming that stuff. And the output, I was like, I don't want that. So, and like you said it, I have to find something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I had to realize like I have to find something else that I can consume that has a bigger return on investment.
Yeah.
And you nailed it. Like that's the plant-based journey.
Yeah.
Plant powered. That's why we say powered, because you get so much more power.
Yeah, man. And okay, going back to the hip hop and the stuff. Like I still like
Yeah.
hip hop. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie, but I feel like there's seasons for everything, and especially when you're developing that personal development side, or even developing the boundaries of your conscious mind. Because now that when I listen to certain lyrics or even different speeches or words, I'm listening to the actual words at a deeper level, because people aren't just saying it just to say it. You know what I mean? There's some intention. There's a lot of intention behind certain words and things, and there's deeper meanings below the surface. But at the time, I wasn't as deep below the surface when I listened to that stuff in the past, But going back to that time frame, it just like I literally believe it was divinely appointed, because it just lined itself so perfectly. Like I couldn't go to the bar at all because they were all closed. So it's like that's not an option anymore for the foreseeable future at that time.
Right.
No one had a clue when that stuff was going to open up back up.
Yeah, if ever.
If ever. And then, yeah, it's just crazy, like thinking about this moment right now of like, throughout that it started opening back up, I think in like late 2021, maybe 2022. But I had already been, now I'm a year in, and that stuff is way less aligned with me. I don't know if I want to be in that environment. I was learning about, your environment shapes your reality and stuff, and but understanding how sensitive or how open your subconscious mind is always open. It's always taking in information, and your conscious mind is the thing that you can say no, accept or reject that idea or this thing. And that's like a muscle too. That's a muscle that you're working, when I remember when they started open up the bars and stuff again, some of my friends were like, hey, you want to go out? Even though we were already kind of like, we weren't going to do it at the same level as what we did before. And I'm like, okay, I want to experience that environment who I am now. I just want to see like what I experienced now, like in that state of mind or being. And it wasn't the same. I was just like noticing things, more observant of everyone around. And I'm like it's fun. I'm still dancing. It's having a good time because I'm cool in my body, period. Like wherever I am, I'm good. But it's like, yeah, like I think about like everyone's there for a reason or whatever, but I know that it's not aligned for the path for me much anymore.
Yeah, dude, everything you're saying here, because it's such a powerful journey, and everything you're saying, I feel like leads me to one point that I keep thinking about is you were here, and then you ended up there. There was originally a gap there, but you built a bridge to go across that gap, that canyon, right?
Yeah.
Valley. And this is how it works for all of us. To move from A to B, there's a gap. We have to bridge that gap. And it seems like with the plant-based thing, you're like, oh, my recovery time's better. I'm feeling better. All this different stuff. Your environment, whether it's around people that are on a different frequency, you started to build that bridge. What is something you would say to someone that's maybe listening right now that is like, I don't know how to build this bridge. I don't know how to bridge this gap from where I'm at to over there because that seems impossible. That seems like that's not for me. I
Yeah.
don't know if I'll ever be able to get that. How would you support them or encourage them?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would definitely say finding people that maybe spark inspiration within you and tuning into them, that frequency, or in finding community around people that like to do that same thing or on that transition or process of the same thing, because it's strength in numbers. You're more powerful. You are a powerful being yourself, but it's amplified as more like-minded energies come together. And then there's the aspects of accountability with those groups, the aspect of just community in those groups and connectedness, or the law of association, just being like tapped in. You elevate without you even really have to do anything, but it's because you're observing people that are already doing it ahead of you or doing it with you. Because I think the journey doesn't stop. It's like it's constant. And that reflects in my journey thus far still, because last year was the first time I consciously started learning more about the raw side of plant-powered, plant-based, and the power of raw, and experimented with different fruit fasts, like 5-day fruit fasts and mono fruit eating. And I was doing some deep parasite cleansing I have always been doing parasite cleansing since the 2020 December transformation. But this one last year was another level shift when I saw the worms coming out. And I'm like, what the heck is this? And what was the difference? So I chose to do my biannual quarterly parasite cleanse just on raw foods, primarily like liquiditarian, smoothies, shakes. I was eating fruits too. And so I'm like, let's just see what happens when I drop in these herbs for these 10 days. And within like, I think it was day 7 or something, and I looked down and I saw all these stringy things and I'm like, what is that? Whoa. And I got my little Q-tips and I'm like, what is that? Like, I want to pull these out. I got to video this. I got to take photos of this.
Right.
A couple days later, or actually, so finished the herbs on day 10, day 13, 3 days after. I had another bowel movement on a Sunday AM, and boom, I saw even more of those worm things. I was over the toilet for 90 minutes, literally like excavating. Like, what? This is the same kind of things that look like flukes that came out from the first time. And I went to the farmer's market after I had done that. And I know a lot of the vendors at this farmer's market I go to. And so they just noticed, they're like, I'm sorry if you're hearing this banging, by the way. They're like, man, your aura is like huge, your energy, you're just glowing. And I'm like, you want to see something crazy? Like, do you want to know why, I think? And I showed them a video or a picture of my phone of the parasites and stuff. And they're like, whoa, what are you doing? And that right there, because they didn't know that I was doing any parasite cleansing. They didn't know that I had shifted into a newer level of lifestyle at this point in time. But then they noticed by my energy, there was something different. And so I'm like, it had to be this. And then, that inspired me to learn a lot more and dive into these parasite entities
Yeah.
of how they tune into your, energy systems and your DNA and all this stuff and basically are programming you.
Yeah, they change our frequency. So when we shed them, our frequency changes and people see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So you've been bit by the detox bug at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I said consciously. So it's interesting when I look back throughout the last 3 years, like primarily, like I always gravitate towards smoothies as it is. I always gravitate toward fruit as it is. I love salads. So I was already eating like high raw, if you will, maybe let's say 70-30, 60-40, 70-30. Nights typically were cooked vegan meals, sometimes lunch, sometimes breakfast. It kind of alternated, but I always had raw throughout parts of the day.
Nice.
But then I say conscious because now I knew, like, I was curious on, okay, how is this going to affect me differently from how I've already been living, and that how I've already been living has felt already super high energy. And I'm noticing it based on my performance compared to others around me doing the same thing. Not as like an egoic mindset, but just like, okay, you can do like 10 pull-ups, but at my 10, it's not even hard for me still. So that just tells me where I'm at. It's like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
And since we're talking about living life on our own terms and moving from A to B to the next step, going back to what would you tell someone that's trying to bridge that gap? What do you feel like you've learned through this whole journey that would help them just move forward, start building that bridge?
Yeah. I'd say allowing yourself to be more curious. Be curious.
Yeah.
That's it. It really is curiosity. It's like, oh, what would it be like if? Huh. And then just take a step and try it. Just try it.
Yeah. I love that, man.
Yeah, try it with some guidance, try it with yourself. Like if it didn't work by yourself, maybe ask somebody else that's done something similar and get some feedback from like
Right.
experience. I'm always asking
Amen.
questions with that. Like, yo, how did it go for you? What did you experience? Okay, there might be some similarities. Just like when we talk, like I've heard parts of your story, I'm like, yo, it's like it's very similar, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I love that, man. Be curious and like try something new. If you don't have one new thing on your list every week to just try, to taste, to figure out, then we're just living in dead end ruts and cycles.
yeah.
Yeah, so much to unpack in there. And there's a lot of similarities in our stories. Like I had five brothers and sisters.
Hey,
Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. That changed my life. The Surrender Experiment, Game Changers. If anybody's watching this that hasn't watched or seen the Game Changers, check it out. Because if you're about performance, look at more than what you've been fed your whole life as far as information. And I say that because in any area of knowledge in our world, the mainstream knowledge is most likely incorrect. It might have parts of the truth in it, but most likely it's designed to keep you away from your power, which is why it's mainstream knowledge. So, both of us used to be gym bros. Well, we were fed how to be the best, strong alpha male by mainstream information. So it would only, by deductive reasoning, come back and be like, wait a minute, that's probably wrong. And so when we start tapping into stuff like you, Marcus,
yeah.
and me, we have it. It changes everything.
Yeah. I would say this too. Not only the curiosity, but you can have healthy skepticism too. Like, I don't know if this is going to work, but it helps push you to seeing it. Like, you can either have it be proven to you or you can prove it otherwise,
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. Another question for you, Marcus, is what do you want in this life?
I like desire. I desire connection. I feel like there's so much, I mean, especially during this whole last 5 years, there's so much disconnection. And it's not just 5 years, it's been this constant, like,
Yeah.
slow drip mechanism to divide. And a huge thing in my upbringing I'm so thankful for every single day is the connectiveness that my family has had with like my cousins that aren't even blood to me, but we're cousins because we go to the family picnics and stuff like that. So I'm thankful that my family had that awareness to come together. It didn't matter like if people were doing stuff different. But here at the picnic, everybody, it's love, it's connectiveness, it's sharing like experience. It's, it's unconditional love too. That is important to me, very important.
Yeah.
That's who we are anyway.
Do you believe, Marcus, that everything we experience on the outside of us comes from the inside of us?
Definitely. I think
So, if that's true, how do you first create connection that you experience in your family and your cousins and everybody? How
mm,
do you first create that on the inside of you? Like, how do you personally do
yeah,
that? And maybe what's some applicable takeaways for
yeah.
people listening?
I think it's just echoing again the curiosity to be more interested. And by being interested, you become interesting, and you just wanting to know a little bit more about your brothers or sisters or cousins or your just fellow, human. I mean, at the heart level of like, no, I genuinely just, I want to know how you're doing, like what's happening in your life. Cool. Okay. This, and that. What challenges are you going through? Because we all have challenges too, and it's not, and I think it's like there's way more commonalities at the base level that we all are going through at different varying levels, but we're all still moving through life with
Yeah.
life in us.
Yeah, yeah. And I gather and I bet, Marcus, that your ability to have curiosity about life and the people around you comes from your ability to have curiosity about yourself,
Yeah,
your own experience.
that's right. Yeah.
And same thing with connection. You probably can't connect with people unless you've connected with yourself. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure. And it's sometimes it's like if I come across people that are really closed off, I think to myself of like, well, how can I connect to that? Because I know I've been at times at that level where it's like you just feel uncomfortable. You don't feel safe to share your authentic expression. And that's lonely. That's a lonely place.
Yeah.
The more I've the more I've connected to myself and been okay with the quirkiness and the goofball stuff that I like to do, the less I care what other people may have judgments or think about me, which is an ongoing process, ongoing. That's still like a
It's
thing.
a daily experiment.
Yeah, literally. The more that you can connect to that person, like, hey, it's okay. Like,
Yeah.
if you act goofy around someone that's super closed off, then they feel more comfortable to act goofy because they think they're goofy. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
you know?
100%. I mean,
So,
it's so cliche, but we are all such good mirrors.
yeah.
And it's like, seeing someone, like you said, closed off, I can't see them, which is the preliminary step to connecting with them,
hmm
unless I see myself.
Yeah.
The more depths I learn to see and witness myself, I can see and witness everybody else. And then from that, I can start to connect with them. And I swear, man, and I want to hear what you have to say on this. I swear, this ability to see myself, love myself, accept myself, and then do that with the world around me has blown me out of this world since I went plant based and started detoxing, getting the animal DNA, the distortions out of my physical field. I'm a completely different experience of life.
Yes, completely. Like I think I've always been, I think we're all empathic, honestly, but since removing, eliminating, detoxifying these obstructions that block you from that feeling sense, like I can feel further than than I have before in my life. Like I can, it's like I feel like anyone that's listening could resonate with the experience of walking in a room and there's tension in the room. Like there was already like some people may have been arguing or something before you walked in and you could feel it. Like,
Yeah,
but then the opposite too. Like you can
like
feel
hanging in the air.
good energy, blah, blah, blah. You just feel like light on your feet when you enter. Like I've noticed that since cleaning my body, I can tap into that even further than like even walking into the room sometimes. I could just pull up to the parking lot sometimes and be like, But then I'm also like, okay, I'm so vibrant that whatever I'm about to walk into is gonna increase. It's gonna be a higher frequency just because I'm here, period. Like I know it.
And that is not like an ego pride thing. That is a confidence, that is a knowing of personal presence that we all deserve and this world deserves to have us bring it into it. That's a very empowered statement you just made, man. I'm glad you brought that up because I feel the same way. Like if you get to witness me, your life is better.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm better than you, because
Yeah.
I also feel the same way about you, you know?
Yes. You can do it too. That goes back to the connection because like they it's like we don't even see it in ourselves. I know this in the gym. Like we don't notice with the discipline and the work that we put in, we don't notice the day by day. It takes about for I think there's like some study or some number that has always come to my mind. It takes a individual like 3 months to recognize on average 3 months for the self to recognize the change. The outside world recognizes it within like a month or less. They'll be like, oh man, you look good, like you've been working out. And I noticed this with, let's go to the plant-based stuff too. I noticed that so much with the plant-based, like working out. I would work out maybe, so let's say I took a break from working out, which I've done throughout this detox season I've been in the last year and some change, like really like honing in on getting down to
Yeah,
the foundation level.
same.
I went to the gym for the first time in like 3 months and just did a couple lifts. I did it one more time the next day, and one of my friends was like, man, you're getting ripped, like. And I'm like, I just worked out twice, like for the first time in like 3 months. So that is interesting to me. I felt it too. I felt stronger just from those two lifts. And I think that's part of the awareness, at least in my experience, from removing this obstruction. You can feel like your body like alchemizing and doing this stuff, you know?
Yeah. You said it right there, dude. It's the obstruction. You know, Professor Arnold Ehret in the Mucusless Diet talks about that, right? The equation for vitality
Yeah.
is what?
Was it power minus obstructions equals vitality?
Vitality.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, straight up. So it's the obstructions. And what you're talking about, Marcus, is so true. When we are consistent on this path and we go deep, not only are we shedding, and I always got to reference this, not only are we shedding the physical
Mhm.
obstructions and blockages, but it's the emotional stuff, because the emotional stuff can also block energy. The more energy that flows, the more we experience these things that we're talking about.
Right.
And so it's the physical and the spiritual and emotional, all that. And it goes hand in hand. All
Yeah.
my clients, when they detox, they're like, oh my God, like this is happening in my life. I got rid of these friends.
Yeah.
I'm bringing new people into my
Yeah.
life. And I'm like, yeah, because you're detoxing everything.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And it's so true because, you know, some of the people listening may know this, but Marcus and I just finished a 40-day juice fast that we did together with a couple other people. And then I was an idiot. Well, I shouldn't say that. I chose to refeed like a fool and I put on literally the 20 pounds that I shed during the cleanse, I put on within 2 weeks.
Mm.
And it was all inflammation.
Mm.
Now, within 2 days of cutting out starches, seed oils, any of the bullshit I started eating, and going back to moving and breathing, people are like, holy shit, dude. Like, I lost the distended stomach,
Yeah.
my 6 packs back. It's crazy how quick the body shifts when we've done this deep internal work. And this isn't like a cheat code, but this is just saying this applies to everything else. You know, the old me that would deal with lack of self belief or worth or whatever, anytime I experience any of those old stories or thoughts, I can bounce back so much quicker now because I got rid of those energetic and emotional blockages too. Has it been, that's kind of
That's
what you're saying your
huge.
journey's been, right?
That's
Yeah.
huge right there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, the bounce back. And it's like I like using that contrast. It's like you went back to feel the contrast of like, okay, it's like I don't like that. I'm gonna come back to here, you
Yeah.
know?
Potato chips don't feel as good as a smoothie.
Right. And that's what it comes down to. You have the ability to choose. I mean, that's what this reality is free will. Like, yeah, you can do whatever you want, but like it's like how do you want to experience it? Do you want to experience it here or here? You know? Like, and it's okay to experience it here for a bit, but you don't know what this can feel like if you've never gone even here. You know? Like that's the thing. Like what's interesting is like I'm laughing right now. Okay, I'm laughing because I'm like, do I talk about this for a second or not? The idea of breatharianism, someone who's never detoxed or parasite cleansed in their life, there's no way in the reality that people can live with barely no food or no food for a very long period of time. There's no concept to that. Like it's like impossible. But how I see it, it's like and breatharian is a very like interesting topic.
Yeah, it's kind of a lot of
Because
club.
we all are, because we all breathe. So, you know, we all, in essence, to a degree, are breatharian. But anyway, I'm not trying to go in tangent here, but um, for instance, I'm like, I can see how this is possible because I've gone to here. I can see how it is possible because I've had a significant impossibility being broken.
Yeah. Which is why it's, yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. And this is a great note to end on, but it's so powerful. Every step we take matters. No step is a mistake because there's always something to learn.
That's it.
And like I've seen your before and after pictures. You're a completely different person.
Yeah.
I'm a completely different person. And if Marcus and I is sitting here talking about this, glowing and being happy,
Yeah.
anybody can. So Marcus, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story, dude. Sharing your light, bro, because you fucking glow, bro, and you're always happy. And I see you on social media helping people out. Which, by the way, below this video are all the links for connecting with Marcus, checking out his offers, coming to him for coaching, whatever it is. Reach out to him, connect with him, follow him on Instagram. He always sheds that light.
Thank you, Jonathan. I
Marcus,
appreciate you, my brother. Like, you're sharing that light, and it's like, let's all come together. That's what it's about, man. Let's all come together and keep raising that light. That's it.
amen.
That's it.
Amen. Let's keep doing it. Everybody that watched this show, I appreciate you. Check out the other episodes. Like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram for more of this stuff. Any guests you would love to see on this show, any topics you would love to see covered, comment below. And again, keep living your life and shining your light. Until next time, big love.
Big
Peace,
love.
peace.
Peace.